I was on a podcast the other day with a friend of mine, Ursula, and she was talking about the Pomodoro Technique. And now I've talked about the Pomodoro Technique in a few other places, in a few other podcasts, and it's one of the things that we focused on a couple of weeks ago in 10XU. One of our productivity expert, Nick Harper, wrote up a big, long blog post about Pomodoro and how to use Pomodoro and how to make it work. And if you're not familiar with Pomodoro, it's pretty simple. Basically, the way it works is that it uses I think it was a 25 minute timer to allow you to focus on deep work. And the reason why the gentleman who invented it called it Pomodoro is because he had a tomato-shaped timer. And of course, Pomodoro is what? Tomato in Italian? And that's what he called it because the timer had a 25 minutes on it. And basically the way the timer worked is that he would set the timer, he would do deep focused work for 25 minutes, and then stop and take a 5-minute break. And then decide whether or not he was going to do another focused session of 25 minutes. And it's a great way to get to the point where, what happens to a lot of us is that when we get focused on a task, and I know it happens to most of you out there, because you're intelligent human beings with big brains, that you might get so super focused on a task that you forget to stop to rest. It happens to all of us. I have a standing desk which goes up and down, and what I'm supposed to be doing is standing for half an hour and then sitting down for half an hour and then standing for half an hour and then sitting down for half an hour. But what ends up happening is that I get so focused on the task that all of a sudden, 2 hours later, I'm like standing here, I'm going, why do my knees hurt? What's going on here? It's because I forgot to sit. So the idea is to set a timer, take 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break, then get back into it. And for one reason, I thought this was great for those kind of sessions where you're spending so much time focused on this task that breaking it up into these Pomodoros will actually help you to sort of rest between the tasks and take a much needed break if you need to. Now, I try to do this. I have a timer that helps me do this, but a lot of times I do the same thing. I get focused on some deep work and I'm stuck in this and the Pomodoro timer goes off and I turn it off and I go, okay, I'm not going to do it. But I think, as far as I thought, that was the reason why he wanted to create this method, was to actually help us take breaks during these long sessions. And one of the things that she was mentioning was it can actually work in an opposite direction as well. Because one of the things that has come out recently is that our attention spans are shrinking faster and faster and faster. In fact, our attention spans are probably around the same length of time as a goldfish's attention span. I think an attention span of a goldfish is like 4 or 5 seconds, or was it 8 seconds? And our attention span has come down to 4. And one of the things she was mentioning is that maybe we could actually use Pomodoro to expand our attention spans instead of contract them. So I was looking at it from let's take a big long session of work and break it out into smaller pieces. And she was saying, take this minuscule moments of attention and expand it out into a Pomodoro. Now, that's probably going to be difficult. And remember, I mentioned in the last episode, I was talking about time and how it's difficult to do things. Things don't happen immediately. They take time. Is that maybe you can actually have somebody focus on something for 1 minute and then have them distract and then have some focus on something else for 2 minutes and then 3 minutes and then slowly work your way up to a 25-minute Pomodoro session. But I think we need to do that. I think we need to get away from these super short form things that just suck our attention span and turn us into doom scrolling monsters. Our phones are basically drugs that change themselves and get more compelling as we use them. They see what we do and they get more compelling to try and get us to spend more time on them. If it was an actual physical drug, it would be outlawed. But each and every day, we all sit there with our phones, with our attention spans shortening and shortening and shortening. So let's think about using Pomodoro or some other technique to increase our attention spans instead of decreasing them. So instead of spending time on X reading tiny little posts, instead of spending time on Facebook reading tiny little posts, go to Medium. Or go to your favorite blog, or read a news site. Try reading longer form content. Try to expand your attention span so you can focus on those. And even better, pick up a book. Put your phone down, turn it off, turn the ringer off, put it on Do Not Disturb, do whatever you need to do, pick up a book and read a book. We all need to get back to reading a book, and it'll help you expand your attention span. And you're probably thinking to yourself, why do I need a longer attention span? Because our brains aren't designed for such short attention span thinking. Little dopamine hits all day long just don't help us be mentally healthy. Expand your attention span, try Pomodoro, put your phone down, and read a book. That's it for me for today. See you next time, and until then, don't forget to think future.